At the outset, I would like to thank Verticuity Foundation, Dr. Bhandari, Dr. Raj, and Professor Das Gupta for inviting me here. Let me give you background of what facility which we have. We are new entrants in this robotic surgery, about 2.5 to 3 years now. This is the facility which we have is at the Cardiac Institute, where there is absolutely no urologist at all. And so therefore, what we did was, when it started, we joined 2 surgeons, and that's what I would like to propagate, that it is always advisable for 2 senior surgeons who have been practicing open radical prostatectomy to undertake this program, and we are very happy with that. Now, I just wanted to bring in a point here that we have done nerve sparing only when feasible, so number is not very big. The rest of the things are standard ones, 3 monthly follow-up questionnaires and everything. Now, this is just the results. On the right side, you can see the open radical prostatectomy. You can see that Patrick Walsh's stitch, and whereas on the left side, we have a patient who had a robotic radical prostatectomy post-holmium. Now, looking to the demographic, we have done about 251 cases by now. In fact, 273, but the analysis is about 175. Age range, we have gone beyond 80 also, and this was mainly because patients wanted it, not that we were keen on doing this. Common presentations were, of course, 82 were asymptomatic, 93 had some kind of obstructive thing. Look at the 37 patient had either TURP, TURIS or HOLEP, and we did that. And look at the comorbidities here. Significant comorbidities, because that is part of the story. We will have to have 2 patients had a morbid obesity as well, even in India. This was the age distribution, as I said. Now let's look at the preoperative PSA. Well, some patients had post-TURP, the PSA was 0.8, and some patients had a PSA which was 88, but not many. 19.8% of patients had PSA more than 20. 50% patients had a Gleason score 7 or more than 7, and 25% patients had T2 or above disease. In other words, T1 was less and low risk was less, and you can see the other side, the whole thing there. Now, coming to the PSA distribution, as I said, 2 patients who had more than 50 PSA, 3 patients more than 50, and 1 was 88, as you can see there. Well, let's look at these operating times. Median surgical operative time was 210 minutes. Range was 180 to 360. 360 was when we were learning. Console time, again, now median console time is 180 minutes. Range, of course, between 150 to 320. Now, reoperations. Now, 2 patients required reoperation, not reoperation vis-a-vis prostate is concerned. One was colostomy, which I'll tell you what happened was, and second was reinsertion. Catheter went off in the evening, just balloon broke away. That was a problem. Throughout these 251 patients, the operative stay was 3 days, because it was the place where we have to remove the patient from there. So we had no patient who was stable. 2 patients had to be readmitted elsewhere because where we were comfortable. Pathological analysis, clearly Gleason score was very high with 7 and above in our patients, and in about 53% it was upstage disease. So we are getting, in spite of our all best efforts to get the early low-grade disease, we still get the patients with loco-regionally slightly advanced or with problems. Now let's look at the oncological outcome. Pathological findings, PT2, 123, PT3, which is either capsule involvement or seminal vesicle involvement, 47. 2 patients had node positive. 90% patients had undetectable PSA during 6 to 36 months. 36 months in the area is a very small number of patients, but really I can't make too much comments on this because data is very short. 12 patients had a positive margins in spite of our best effort to go beyond the disease. Functional, as standard continence is defined as leakage. Preoperatively, all were continent. At 12 months, luckily we are possibly in a right patch, possibly 90% were continent. 10% had SUI and required 1 per day. 12 patients required post-op RT for various pathological findings. Those are the patients who had, again, problem of the continence. Now look at the early complication. Now bleeding range was 50 to 1000 ml. Those are early cases. Median blood loss was 120 ml. Mean blood loss 158 ml. Blood transfusions required only in 4 patients. Now urethral injury occurred in 2 patients because of some kind of our problem while handling the instruments, bladder injury in 2, burst abdomen in 1, failed catheter-free trial in 6 patients, sigmoid colon perforation, which we went unnoticed, we realized later on, loss of needle. Till date, I was told there are 78 needles were lost. Ours is 79th needle lost. And that was exactly what I was coming to. That needle we just couldn't find. Luckily, we had a mentor that time with us, and he said, don't worry, it's not a big problem. So we had one needle loss. Now, late complications, incisional hernia, bladder outflow obstruction, and severe LUTS. So the reason these patients who had a radiation therapy, they always have a problem. Now, this is the blood loss completely, as you can see. These were upper cases were the early cases, which we were beginning, and later on. Now, at this point, I will just share with my data, which I published in 2011 in Indian Journal of Urology, open surgery, 428. Look at the blood loss. There it was about less than 300 in 37%, but more than 300 in remaining patients. And this was over 10 years period. And the complications then were the same. We had a lot of complications, wound infection, catheter expulsion, all those things. In other words, I just wanted to show, what do we gather from this? And this is the table, of course, the outcome. More or less, we are having the similar data as it is being published elsewhere. So what do we take home message? Initiating a new surgical program with the help of is helpful, but challenging to the surgeons. Our initial experience of robotic surgery is safe, effective, adds life to the surgeon as well. Benefit, and the 3 things which come out of this whole thing is, and I have open surgery experience over 750 cases, and now 250 open robotic prostatectomy. The blood loss is less, magnification is better, hospital stay is less, pain index is better. Beyond that, there is nothing. Rest is anybody can have. So this is what the message. And if in India robotic surgery has to go, I think the cost has to come down. The other thing which we have been all the time saying, and Da Vinci guy was here, and I said, just remove the sensor of 10 per instrument. If you can give it 20 per India for 3 instruments, perhaps we will be doing better. Thank you very much.
When we started open prostatectomy in Sunderland with Damien Green in 1995, the PSA cut off at 13 or 15. Now I've just increased it to 20. But there are certain European trials which say up to 100. But yours is 88. I just want to ask the panel, what is your cutoff for the PSA?
Cutoff PSA.
Cutoff PSA, sir. Indian cutoff of PSA.
You want to know the normal range, or what are you asking?
To what level would you like to do prostatectomy?
See, in All India Institute of Medical Science, when we started with Dr. Hemal, we used to get all kind of patients. So up to 100 we have done there actually, So even today, if you ask me, only PSA has got no meaning.
Correct.
Then we see the grading of the tumor and stage. In my talk, I'm going to cover all that. So what I'm saying is that only PSA has got no meaning.
Would you?
Yes. We making decision before, in a pre-op, that we always make a shared decision with the patient that whether the patient would proceed the prostatectomy when we find the lymph node. We do first the lymph node dissection for the high PSA patient, but the pre-operatively we do a CAT scan, bone scan for the PSA, some lymph, like a glycinate or higher, or a PSA 10 or 20 above. That we usually do an imaging study, and then there's no suspicious, then we can proceed it. But still, we offer we discuss with the patient that whether to proceed complete the prostatectomy or not. But the most patient wants to take the cancer out.
The highest PSA I have done is 49, but that is not my routine practice. If a patient has a aggressive tumor, i.e. Gleason 8 or above, or a PSA of above 20 and insists on surgery. In fact, next Tuesday, when I return from Ranchi, I'll be operating on such a patient. I insist today that they have a choline PET scan. I want to be absolutely certain that there is nothing outside the prostate. And to my mind, although currently within trials, the best way of proving or disproving that is a choline PET. And you will, over the next few years, probably find that the bone scan is dead. probably.
Dr. Dasgupta, just to add on what you said, what our observation was, if the Gleason score is very high, the PSA may not be very high at all. In fact, I have got patients who have PSA less than 10, and then it turned out to be Gleason 9. So as PSA as one parameter is difficult to take it as the cutoff line. We've got to take all three together.
So that is also currently within investigative trials. There is a National Institute of Health Research trial within the UK being run by Vicky Go, who is one of my professorial colleagues in imaging sciences within King's. And the comparative study of bone scan versus PSMA and newer PETs and choline PET is currently ongoing. So await the results, but I think pretty soon bone scan will be dead. That is my feeling anyway. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.